Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Audible Farm Podcast. It is episode number 43, and it's brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is my new favorite coffee. It's located right here in Iowa. Ankeny, as a matter of fact, originally from Davenport, hence the name Couchtown. Believe it or not, I went like a week or two before I figured it out. I was talking with Andrew, the roaster at Couchtown Coffee, and he was telling me, yeah, it's kind of a funny name. And I was just kind of like, yeah, it's real funny. And then it kind of dawned on me about a week later. So Couchtown Coffee, it's a fun play on words for a coffee company that's originally from Davenport, Iowa, now out of Ankeny. One of my favorite coffee companies of all time, of any of the ones I've ever found. It's the freshest coffee I've had. It is roasted exactly how I want it, pretty much because Andrew, the master roaster at Couchtown Coffee, will roast it exactly how you want it. And that's one of my favorite things about them. Another one of my favorite things about them is last week we teamed up and gave everyone a promo code. If you wanted to try Couchtown Coffee, you could have saved it 20%, and it went over like gangbusters. It went over so well, as a matter of fact, that we decided we're going to do another one this week. So I'll tell you what, if you go to www.couchtowncoffee.com, and you find some coffee you like, and you want it roasted and sent to your house, just hit up Andrew. There's all the information at www.couchtowncoffee, how to place an order, and make sure you give them the promo code UKULELE. This week, the promo code's ukulele. Why is the promo code ukulele this week? Because my guest plays the ukulele. This week, my guest is Sarah Baldus. She comes from a very musical family. As a matter of fact, her mom was the first lady that ever sat down and taught me anything about music. She was the 5th and 6th grade music instructor at the school that I went to. And bless her soul for dealing with a young me. Bless her. That's all I got to say. It was not an easy going when I first started playing music. I didn't get it very well. I just didn't enjoy playing music as much as I do now. And now I love it, and I've got her, Sarah's mom, to thank for it. And this week I sit down with Sarah and we talk about all of her stuff as far as like coming from a musical family. Sarah actually taught music when she graduated from college, so we talk a little bit about that. Now she teaches music at a private institution, gives private lessons for piano. She played French horn. She also plays the ukulele. She one day was just like, I'm going to buy a ukulele and try to play it, and just figured out how to play it. Now she's good at the ukulele. So that's kind of what got me started on playing the ukulele, and that's why the code word this week is ukulele. So I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode. It's episode number 43 with Sarah Baldus.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right, I'm sitting down today with Sarah Baldus. Sarah, you recently have started doing lessons at a place in Iowa City here. Before that, you were a teacher at a school for music. You were a music teacher at a public school, I guess would be the correct way to say that.
Yeah, I was a band teacher.
All right. Let's go through this. Like, what is the thing that got you to... Because I know, but other people that are listening don't. But what was the thing that got you to be a band teacher?
Well, I just really had a passion for music. I still do, of course. And I just had a knack for the teaching aspect of it. I was really, really good at motivating kids and things like that. But, I did like the all-state thing in band in high school, and then...
What instrument did you play in high school?
Played the French horn.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Who else plays the French horn in your family?
Well, my mother. She's kind of famous around Iowa with her quintets and her other bands that she plays in. But I try to take after her. You know, she was a good mentor growing up.
Yeah, your mom was actually, believe it or not, the first person that ever taught me any music, anything. She was a fifth and she was a 5th and 6th grade band instructor in the school that we had went to in Humboldt.
Yep.
And she taught there for quite a while. And I think she just recently retired, right?
She just retired this May, yeah.
That's cool.
After like 22 years there in
Wow.
Humboldt.
Wow.
I think she did like 33 total. She was in it.
Yeah, because she taught at a couple other places before this.
Yeah, she taught in Stanhope and in Jewell, other tiny towns in Iowa.
So pretty much your whole life you've had a mother that was teaching music to...
Yeah.
How old were the kids that she was teaching at the other schools? Same age, or?
She did pretty much everything. She did like a 5 through 12 for her first couple of jobs, and then stuck with 5th and 6th grade.
God, could you imagine doing 5 through 12?
I did that for a year. It was
Where
hard.
Where at?
In Bode, Twin River Valley.
Yep.
Yeah, by Humboldt there.
Yeah, you were the music teacher up there.
That was so hard.
Was that your first job?
It was my first band director job after graduating. Mm-hmm.
So where'd you go to school in order to get your qualifications to
I
be...
went to Iowa State University.
Nice.
4.5 years. Most people make it out in about that. So there's just so much stuff that they have to cram in. It's like double majoring.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to be proficient at almost every instrument, and then on top of that, be a teacher. So
yeah, exactly.
So you got to go get both of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one simple thing. You know, it's pretty crazy. I was like, growing up, I never thought I would ever do almost anything with music, and now, as I guess you could call it, as an adult, I'm as adult as I could get, I guess.
So far.
Yeah. So, like, as an adult now, I do really enjoy music, and I've started doing guitar lessons and stuff. Mm-hmm. But when you and I first started hanging out as adults, I was kind of just blown away by the fact that you had like 20 instruments at your house.
Yeah, I've got a million. I mean,
knew how to play pretty much most of them with pretty darn good proficiency. So
yeah, that was the most fun part of going to college, was just learning all those instruments and, finding one at a used store and buying it and then just having it your own and just practicing it whenever you feel like it.
So I'm assuming you spent most of your time playing French horn growing up. Did you play like piano or anything else?
Yeah, well, so my first instrument is probably piano because, band director mom wants you to be into that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So I started that when I was pretty young, 5 or 6 years old, and then got into the French horn in middle school. But my family always had instruments laying around, so I could always play whatever. Everybody in my family plays.
Yeah,
like every single one.
Yeah, literally every person in your family is
a brass player or a piano player.
Yeah, musically inclined and very well so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
our family's very divided, which is kind of interesting. It's like half of us are engineers and musicians, and the other half are just musicians.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy how that works out, though. Like, I mean, it's not like they don't want to do music forever.
Oh, no, they do.
But at the same time, solely doing music is tough.
It is, yeah. It's hard to find a job. A
Yeah.
good job.
Oh, I could bet. So you taught in Bode for a while. After that, where'd you end up going?
I went to Marshalltown after that. Spent 5 years there.
Was that when you did like younger kids instead of
That was,
the whole entire school?
That was 7th and 8th grade, and then I helped out with the 5th and 6th and some of the high school, but mostly middle school.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. That was my program. I got to pick out all the band music and teach all the people, and it was great.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever do any vocal stuff, or is that a completely different genre of stuff?
I didn't do vocal stuff. No, it's different.
Yeah, nobody ever once has accused me of being a really good singer, so I've always been pretty jealous of anyone that can sing even a little bit.
I like singing more now than I used to. I think that's because of my current job and what I do. But when I was in elementary school, one of our music teachers, the choir director, kept telling my mom that I have a meaty voice. Meaty voice. It's got some kind of depth to it or something. I don't know what that's. Meaty is the way she described it.
Meaty, I don't know.
Yeah.
When I was in 7th and 8th grade, I was in the chorus, and there was no guys, and that was pretty much the only reason I sang was because they needed guys, just any guy to sing anything, because even if you weren't hitting the right notes, it was good enough because you had some low sound in there pretty much. But there were so few of us and nobody sang loud that I was obviously the loudest person singing, and I was probably also the least qualified to be singing that loud. So they pretty much just asked me to quit coming in and singing. So
that's unfortunate.
that was when I was like, all right, I'm not cut out for this. And
just kill your passion for music.
Oh yeah, singing at least,
Yeah.
I guess, because I mean it's not like I can't sing as an adult, because you can. I don't know. I've realized that you can carry a tune as long as you kind of practice at it and stuff like that. But I'm no whatever. I can't do any of that Christina Aguilera nonsense where it's like wow, 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 wow. I can't do any of that stuff.
No. that takes a lot of practice.
Yeah,
To
and even
accurately hit those pitches.
yeah, but even just going around in the area, watching live bands and plays stuff like that, cover bands, whatever. It's just like, man, like I'd say about 80% of these people can sing well better than I can. Not even just a little bit. Like, it's not even like a comparison. So, but you know, I do a lot of like blues singing and stuff, and none of those guys were ever.
They got that raspy voice.
Yeah,
you know,
that's about all they got.
Gravelly.
Yeah, but it's not like they were bad singers either.
No.
I was watching some B.B. King stuff the other day, and you know, believe it or not, he's pretty darn good at singing. Recently, one of the things I got into was going to YouTube, finding somebody and finding the isolated vocal tracks for him, and then trying to figure out whether or not I thought they were a good singer and stuff like that. And one of the first things I did was like Van Halen. Everyone's like, Sammy Hagar is such a better singer than David Lee Roth, and yada yada yada. So I started doing isolated vocal tracks of both of them, and you know, David Lee Roth's not that bad. Like, everyone always kind of throws some shade his way, but it's pretty good stuff. I definitely enjoy it. It's not. I don't know if I could sing that good, but
No.
but either way.
I don't know. A lot of the music we have now is like auto-tuned and stuff, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, true. I mean, I've been known to use an auto-tuner to supplement for my lack of singing on occasion, and sometimes it works out really well and sometimes it doesn't. I'm actually, like, it's weird to say this, I'm more comfortable without one because the auto-tune snaps everything from one note to the next, and it kind of, you can kind of hear that it's, you can blend that a little differently, but I don't know. That's just, singing was never my strong suit. So you've got like a multitude of instruments.
Yeah.
And I remember one time you were like, I want to learn how to play a mandolin. So we like walked around until we found a pawn shop that had a mandolin, and you picked it up and started playing that. But I mean, even then it was just like,
hard.
Yeah, you were like, I want to learn how to play ukulele too. So you got a ukulele.
Heck yeah.
And that's actually kind of, you stuck with the ukulele.
I like the ukulele. It feels better than the mandolin. The mandolin had just like too high of an action, and it really hurt my fingers a lot.
Yeah, some of that could be from the fact that we didn't really go get a high dollar one. But,
yeah, probably.
But still, like.
But yeah, the ukulele I really like a lot. I've got a couple of those.
Yeah.
I play it for my day job.
What's your current day job right now?
I'm a preschool music teacher.
Nice.
So I go to the different aged classrooms and sing and dance around and play fun instruments with the little kids, little tambourines and jingle bells with little 4 and 5 year olds.
Heck yeah.
It's pretty adorable.
That's awesome. So what got you kind of keyed towards doing a job like that?
Well, I don't know. I got out of the band director thing after a few years. I gave it a good, honest, hard try. But there's just a lot of stuff that goes in with public school teaching that makes it very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
To stick with.
I'm sure it's very, like, not just, well, you're stuck in kind of a rock and hard place, because not only are you teaching people, but you've got to, like, teach something that's not just like 2 + 2 = 4. It's not something that's just an easy thing. No, I'm not saying
it's
math
not, like,
is easy. But
required for your life, to fit through society.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, yeah, so like chemistry class, everyone's got to take a chemistry class or whatever. But like music class, you could be stuck with people where they're like, parents want the kids to play, which was probably the situation when I was going through school. Bless your mom's soul for teaching young kids how to play music, and yours too, honestly, because it's just, I didn't really want to do anything with it when I was growing up, and I don't know how it worked out like this, but now I kind of like playing music, and I even teach lessons here and there on the side, but
I don't know. So I got out of that, and then I tried a different job. I wanted to just have a home music studio for a while, and I found that I didn't have enough clients to make it a full-time thing. So I got into call center work, which was awful. The worst job, worst soul-sucking job you could ever have.
Yeah. What kind of lessons did you teach while you were
It was
trying to do
mostly brass instruments here, like trumpet. I mean, everybody can play the trumpet. It's so easy.
And guess what instrument I played growing up?
Trumpet.
Trumpet, yeah. So.
But I don't know. Got out of that call center work pretty fast, and then found this job.
That's cool. I know you do have another job where you teach lessons still, not necessarily out of your house.
No, this is a place called Music for Life. It's based in North Liberty, and it's mostly piano lessons right now, but I have a French horn student and ukulele as well.
Oh, cool. You got a
I have-
ukulele student there?
I do, yes.
That's
I've
nice.
got about 30 students now.
Total?
Total. Yeah,
Jeez.
which is insane.
That's a lot.
I was going to max out at 20, and then I kept getting more.
That's wild.
So I'm having the opposite problem I had before.
I mean, I'll have to say when I was doing guitar lessons in Humboldt, I still do. I don't do as many as I used to, but I think 5 or 6 was the most that I had at one point in time. And that's not like it was too many, but it was quite a few. It was a decent amount.
It's a lot.
It is a lot of people.
But it's mostly beginner piano, so it's like super simple songs. You don't have to do a lot of prep work for it. And just show up, listen to the kid play, correct their mistakes, and lead them on to the next page.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of, like, well, I guess if you're doing piano, you probably don't play along with them while they're playing as much.
Well, I sing a lot, which is weirdly weird, you know. I just, like, sing the pitches with them because I don't want them to look at my fingers. So I sing the words and sing the notes and everything with them. And
That makes sense.
a lot of the time they sing with me, and if it's really tough for them, I just play along with them.
Yeah.
It's really easy piano, so.
Yeah, I have found that if you only play along with people, they kind of lean on your correct sound, and they don't try as hard, I guess, necessarily.
Or they don't even look up at the page. They'll just be side glancing towards your fingers
yes.
and going from there.
And I don't know, that's one of the things I found was most difficult about teaching guitar lessons was trying to find, I guess, the correct way to go about giving them all of the correct tools to improve as much as possible in a lesson. And, you know, as the more lessons I've done, I've found when it is time to stop playing along with them and let them do it themselves, so that way they can hear exactly their chords or notes that they're playing and how they sound without somebody else next to them playing the same thing.
And a resource that I like to mention to a lot of my students is record yourself and listen to it. You know, people just don't, they hear whatever's coming out of their amp or whatever, but they don't listen back and really think critically about what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things when I first started playing with Three Finger Betty. Clint, the drummer, would record like everything, and then he'd just upload it and send it to everybody and be like, this was our show from the last week or whatever. So you would have to sit and listen to yourself play. And it's not like you would have to. I mean, you don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. But he would send it to everybody, I guess, as a learning tool. And it works out quite a bit. You know, if you listen to yourself play, you kind of, I don't want to say get self-conscious, but you start to figure out where your little struggle
quirks
and
are,
exactly. And the benefit of that, though, is you start to figure out what you're really good at, though, too. So you can, I'm not saying you should, but you can use it to like lean on what you're good at instead of just always trying to, I don't know, try to do this flashy stuff that you can't always fill in with. That was like kind of with Three Finger Betty, where the song structure is already there, and John's kind of just, to me, like, go to town. You can like match my power chords or play leads or whatever you want to do. So I do a little bit of both, but like I'm not always playing the same thing the same way twice, so I get to hear what it sounds like in recording when it's played back, because it sounds different than it does on a stage.
Right.
You know, and I'm sure that's the same way you were talking about. Like if you're playing at your house and you hear it coming out of your guitar while you're playing it, it might sound different than if you were to record it and then listen back to it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that would probably be a really good recommendation.
It's kind of like the same resource as YouTube, you know, just listening to other recordings, variations on the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was one of the big things about going to jam nights was not everybody plays every song the same way, and especially with like blues songs, it's like, I want to play Going Down. Well, it's been recorded like 22 different times. Which version do you want to play? How do you want to play it? And most of the time, you kind of just let it leave it open and just let the people do whatever they're doing. You just give them a little bit of a tempo, and here's the main riff I'm going to use, and just play along with it and go for it. You know?
Yeah.
That's, I don't know. That's definitely one of the things when I first started as an adult getting more into music. I was like, oh, there's a lot more of this that's open to interpretation than I had originally thought there was. Because growing up, I talked about this a little bit in the Gene Walker podcast, how growing up I wanted to know exactly what notes I was going to play and when I was going to play them, and I didn't want to have any variation. I think some of that comes from like growing up and playing trumpet in a big band where it's like, these are the notes and this is all you can play and this is when you have to play it. But at the same time, a giant arrangement like that, it doesn't really sound good with improvisation. So
That's true. I don't know, that jazz band side of the music world kind of scares me. Like, as a French horn player, it's not something that I'm into.
Just kind of.
I mean, I love listening to it, but I cannot play jazz on the French horn at all.
Yeah.
I'd have to switch instruments. I'd have to do, like, I don't know, trumpet or something.
Trumpet, probably.
And then my range is not so good. And improv on trumpet, I'm not super comfortable with.
Yeah, that was like one of the things when I got to like 7th and 8th grade, the teacher that we had for trumpet was trying to teach us how to do a little bit of improv in case we wanted to do it in the jazz band that we had there. And unless it was in like, I can do it in like one specific key, the key the trumpet's in. Everybody does the, I guess it'd be the C scale for the trumpet. And that would be the
flat instruments,
yeah, that'd be the easiest one to run through. But other than that, I was kind of lost, and I could figure it out. But even then, I'd have to sit down and like in my brain kind of calculate out what notes would be, and then I know the fingering. So then, but even then, it comes down to being, doing it enough to get it to be commonplace and stuff like that. Yep. So it's not always as easy as you think, but
it's not just wiggling your fingers
No.
like some people think.
No. Oh man, that's my favorite part about watching anybody play trumpet, like in a movie or in the background on a TV show or something. It's like, that is nonsense, and I know that.
There's no pattern to their fingerings or anything.
Well, that's the funniest thing too, because it's like, without playing a trumpet, you wouldn't know, because it all looks exactly the same.
Or I don't know. I've seen some TV shows where they're playing like the clarinet or the saxophone. And they don't even have a reed in it. It's just like, come on, that's the easiest thing you could put on.
That's the one thing you have to have in there in order to make a noise. But I don't know. I guess if you don't know, and you don't know, and
that's true.
You probably don't care if you don't know. So, what is probably the one thing about music that you think is like your favorite thing ever? Because there's got to be something that's driven you to do it for so long in your life, not just the fact that your family around you also does it, Well,
my favorite thing for a long time, especially in college, was just like being in the middle of the orchestra while you were playing something and just feeling the music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like almost synesthesia, but not. I wasn't seeing colors or anything. It was just it felt like our heartbeats were synchronizing and we were just all in this situation for the same common goal. It was really amazing.
Yeah.
Something a lot of people don't get to experience.
Yeah, that sense of camaraderie that you have with your other musicians, et cetera, et cetera.
Sorry. And then depending on the songs you're playing, there might be like, it might be like a really angry song and there's a lot of, I don't know, feeling behind the notes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was thinking about that when you're talking about feeling the music, like if it's kind of like sinister and the deeper brass starts hitting some like bom bom bom, and you're like, oh geez, I can feel that. Like
something's coming.
You can feel it. Yeah. As an adult though, like playing in bands and stuff like that, like the biggest band I guess I can play, and I played at a jam night, and there was like I think about 7 of us on stage at one point in time to play like a 9-minute version of the Midnight Rider by the Allman Brothers, and it was sweet. We had, gosh, who all was up there? I don't want to snub anyone, but it was at one of the jam nights that they had in Bode that Scott Dahl had hosted. But we went up there and played that, and it just kind of made me realize I don't think I'm ever going to sit in a room with like 60 people and play music ever again.
Yeah.
Like and that's not like go to a bar and play in front of 60 people. I mean, like, everybody sits down with sheet music and has there's like 30 different instruments, and we're all going to play something that makes a song, like an orchestra or even just like a high school or junior high type band thing. And that kind of makes me sad. It's not like it's
I really miss it. There's not enough like just regular community bands and orchestras around here.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, you're in the Iowa City area, so I'm sure you have more than we do up in the Humboldt/Fort Dodge-ish area.
That's true, but it's not like you can get a membership to that kind of thing. These horn players, they stay into the band until they're dead. It's just a lifelong gig.
Justifiably so, though. Like you were saying,
it's a good gig.
If you're good at music, it's not always easy to find a job or a gig. And then once you get one, you're not going to just back out of it because you don't know if another one's going to come along, especially somewhere up in like the Fort Dodge area where it's like there's no Humboldt area orchestra symphony, there's no Algona. I mean, there are like community choruses and things like that in Humboldt, but like I said, a lot of the positions are filled and
right.
filled by very like ludicrously talented adult musicians, and some of them are even younger than me by 10
That's
years
right.
at least.
I started in the Fort Dodge Area Symphony when I was in 8th grade.
Oh,
And I
Jesus.
played that for probably 17 years.
Wow.
Same thing with the Carl King Band in Fort Dodge.
Yeah,
Same
definitely.
year, yeah.
That's crazy.
So a lot of these people that you're interviewing, I like know their kids,
That's-
or they know their parents or something
Yep.
from these bands.
Oh, that's crazy. That's pretty funny how that
Yeah.
all works out. I've been pretty interested in delving into that market of musicians because there's a lot of those people that, whether or not anybody wants to believe it, they're in like the Iowa Music Association's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and
My
stuff like
mom's
that.
in there.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
played with, what was it, Jive for Five?
Jive for Five, yeah.
Yeah, and they would play like cover type songs of popular songs.
Yeah, they do a lot of arrangements. Dan Cassidy does most of their arrangements. He's super good at arranging.
Yeah, here comes the name Dan Cassidy.
Cassidy.
Pops up
Oh,
once
yeah.
more on the podcast.
Gosh,
Oh
he's
man.
just all around talented.
And that's what I hear is he's just he can just like look at something and tell you how it sounds, or
Yeah.
listen to something and then rewrite it. Like
Definitely a master
after
musician.
after listening to it one time, he's just like, this is what it would sound like on a trumpet.
Yep.
And then if you wanted to add another one, we could like split it up. Like I hear that's what he's like.
Yeah, that's
And,
exactly
it's
it.
pretty mind blowing. It's not that would be undoable for someone like you or me. You would probably be a little bit better than I would.
Hold on.
But even then, like, it would take me like days and days and days and days of constant work to
Hundreds
get
of
something like
listening.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
So it's pretty mind blowing that
Yep.
there's I don't know, just people like that out there that aren't rock and roll music stars, and stuff like that. Even though he kind of is a rock
He
and roll
kinda
star.
is, yeah, and his son has some Hollywood connections too. If
Oh, really?
I understand right? Yeah, he's like a big actor.
Cool.
So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's pretty sweet stuff.
Yeah.
You do ukulele stuff.
Ukulele stuff. Yeah.
Lessons,
Lessons.
as well as you play it at your current day job.
Current day job. Yep. For the Frog Hollow.
So you play music for kiddos, eh?
Pretty much do music all day long and all night long.
What kind of stuff do you sing for the kiddos or
Oh,
play
it's
for?
like folk songs, traditional songs, variations on like Twinkle.
Also like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star stuff.
Yeah.
And then you just rewrite the lyrics to fit whatever you're doing.
Pretty much, yeah. Whatever
Like-
the theme of the week is.
Like tie your little shoes or something. I don't know. Like
These kids are so young. You could like sing a song about their name and have them stand up and do something, and they'll be happy.
oh, that's awesome.
So you can just like do this action. All right, dance around, have fun, shake your booty.
Well, kudos to you for being able to do stuff like
That's
that
so
because
much fun.
oh, I bet it is. I mean,
Yeah.
in my small-minded, I mean, maybe it's just me being a male or just me being a little bit less confident about music than you are, but I would just think about like I could probably rewrite some lyrics to some simple songs and sing them for kids. They probably would love them, but at the same time, like the whole time I'm writing it down, I'd just be like, this is dumb. And I don't ever put myself in the kids' shoes where the kid's going to be like, this is the coolest thing ever because someone said my name in a song, you know?
Yeah. Well, it just has to be like 2 lines, and you repeat it 4 times, and they're fine. So,
Oh, man.
yep. That's what I do. And I've got like a big bag of instruments that I get to haul around to each classroom, like some drums and shakers and weeros. And,
Oh, Weeros, it's like
Weeros.
the fish that you put the stick across or whatever.
yeah, pretty much. I got some pretty basic ones that are just like 2 sticks, and one is riveted and the other's not.
Mm-hmm.
But
You do the egg shaker thing, I'm sure, and have them
Egg shakers.
shake the egg
Yeah.
shaker to the beat and things like that.
I bring in all my different instruments, a different instrument a week, and play it for them and let them touch it and experience like the trumpet or the clarinet or whatever.
What's the craziest instrument that like kids were just like, what is this?
They're obsessed with the trombone. Like that slide thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, it makes a meow.
Yeah.
whomp,
The
you know,
weirdest
they
noise, and they
love
just
that.
love it.
Oh gosh,
That's probably what I'm bringing next week.
that's awesome. I will have to say that like playing like they give you the opportunity to play an instrument like in 5th and 6th grade when you join the band, you got to try them all out. I just remember the trombone being like, how do you know where the notes are at? You
It's
know?
all about your face and like math. You have to find the partials.
Yep. There's it's
Yeah, whatever that's called.
Yeah, you just go a certain. They have numbers, correct, where you can slide it down X amount far, like position
Yeah,
1, position 2,
But it's
or
not
whatever.
like marked. It's all one big long slide.
Yeah,
There's no markings.
Yeah, it's
you have
not
to
like
guess.
it's not like you slide it and then it hits a notch and you keep
No.
going or whatever.
No, you have to use your ear and make sure you're in tune.
Yeah, that was one of the things that blew me away about like when I first saw TV Cop when they had
trombone,
Steve Nash playing the trombone for him. I was like, what is going on here? Like,
That was a good band. I love that band.
yeah, it was tons of fun to see like a ska band with a trombone and stuff. And it's not like that's totally uncommon because I've seen ska bands with instruments before. There's a band I believe they're from Madison. It was called Courtesy of Tim. We played a show with them and they had instruments too. I think there was a trombone. I know there was a trumpet. There may or may not have been a saxophone, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. It was a while back.
Yeah.
But like seeing instruments like that incorporated with what most of the people like on this podcast play guitars and drums and things. So seeing the two incorporated one another is really awesome.
There was some band that was playing downtown that had like 4 tubas in it, and they were just, jamming out as some rock band or punk band or something. They just had tubas, sousaphones up there.
Yeah, why not, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's no rules when it says, like, you have to have these instruments or have to have those instruments in your band. Like,
Right, and if you can replace a guitar with some brassy sounding thing, it
yeah,
adds another dimension.
or even just throw something else in there. I mean, hell, like Rolling Stones had a saxophone player, or like whatever. Just pitch another one of those. I mean, the era of the bigger bands has gone away due to the fact that, you can't really make the money you used to be able to, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. But it still is fun to see that stuff. And anybody out there making that music outside of the scope of normal music is definitely it's first off, it's eye catching and ear catching, and secondly, if you can pull it off with any sort of what would be the correct word for this? I don't know. If
Competency.
Yeah, I guess like if it's even remotely good, it's going to be mind blowing to the average musician because I don't know, it just takes a lot of extra work to put something that's not a guitar or a bass in a band. And
most people who learn those instruments put it down after like 9th grade. So they're rare, it seems.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing is I do still have a trumpet, and I have gotten it out on rare occasions and played it. It's just like you get the thing out and it's like, let's play a C scale. And then he was like, well, let's play a chromatic scale. And it's like, okay, got him. Nailed him. Like, okay, so then you just put it down. It's like, I'll pick this back up in a year and a half and see if I can still play a scale,
Yeah.
But you're right. It's and the fact that not all these instruments are always in the same key to transpose to a guitar, et cetera, makes it that much more difficult. And I mean, it just is what it is. I've always wanted to do something like that or find a way to expand any of the bands that I'm in to do something like that. But we've went over in the last 5 minutes. It's pretty tough. And kudos to any of those guys that are out there doing it and mixing up instruments together. What's another instrument the kids? You said trombone.
Trombone. I like bringing my French horn in. That's just fun for me.
Yeah.
You do these like horn rip things, which is just like start on a low note and then go as fast and high as you can, all in like a split second. Like, yep, that kind of thing. I do a bunch of those.
And they love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and plus it's all wrapped up and it looks beautiful.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, having the
gorgeous.
French horn was always one of those fun instruments. It looked neat, just kind of sitting there by itself. Not every instrument looks attractive just sitting there.
Yeah, that's a great instrument. I've had this one since I was really young, like first or second year after I started. It's been with me for almost 20 years.
That's crazy. Guitarists switch. I know guitarists, they get a new guitar like every 6 months.
Yeah, right.
It's
Let's see. I played with the Sioux City Orchestra and made a CD with this horn.
Oh, cool.
2011, I think it was.
That's
That was
awesome.
pretty cool.
That's sweet.
A rock orchestra in Sioux City that's no longer together, unfortunately.
Oh, bummer.
I know.
So what kind of stuff would they do?
Oh, pop songs, rock and roll.
So they just
Yeah.
rearrange songs?
Yeah,
That's
for orchestra.
cool. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Was that somebody local doing all the arrangements for them, or would they purchase an arrangement that was already done?
I think they were making their own arrangements.
That's wild.
Yeah. I don't remember the bandmaster's or the orchestra master's name, but he was really talented.
That's crazy stuff. I don't know. I took a music theory class my senior year of high school, and I kind of dabbled into what it takes to do that. And it's like I don't know, once you realize what it is, it's not as difficult, but at the same time, it's still just like, oh, to put all this stuff in the correct spot is...
And
like,
with this right voicing.
yeah, it's so tough, because that was the thing, was you start to realize, like, I can hit all these right notes, but you got to choose the correct instrument to play the note to make it sound the best for, I guess, whatever the arrangement is, or whoever it is. For example, there's a Steve Vai DVD where he rearranged all of his songs. I guess not rearranged. He arranged all of his music for a giant symphony to play. And For the Love of God was the song. I don't know if anybody listening is familiar with Steve Vai, but he ended up choosing an oboe to play the opening part. And after the oboe made one passage through, it switched to flute. Oh. So it gave it a little bit softer sound, but it still had the... Not
as bright.
They used harmony, so it still kind of sounded like it had a lot of angst to it, regardless of the fact that it wasn't just one instrument.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know, just stuff like that always kind of intrigued me. That if anybody's looking for something fun to watch, I highly recommend the Steve Vai DVD where he arranged all his music for an orchestra. I know you can find it on YouTube, but I like to find videos of that and just send them out to people to be like, check this out and look what this guy's doing. And not only that, but like, look what this giant room full of musicians is doing. I know there's been a lot of bands that have played with orchestras and symphonies and things over the years, but that one was always kind of special to me because Steve did all of the arrangement for that. And, you know, that's really cool. It's mind-blowing.
Absolutely.
Just musicians like that always kind of blew my mind. And I can play a decent amount of instruments. I wouldn't say I can do it with very high proficiency, but I can still... Like, I don't know, just hanging out with you kind of made me realize that you can pick up an instrument and learn it from scratch, and it's not like it's going to be the most impossible thing in the world.
It just takes repetition.
Yeah, I mean, like, once you figure out where all the notes are at, then you're just like, okay, then you just put your knowledge of music into the instrument and go with it.
Yep, once you know one, you can learn basically all of them.
Yeah, it's kind of like speaking a different language or whatever. You know, you can kind of, once you speak one different language, you can just go to the next one and go to the next one and just keep going.
Yep.
What's your favorite instrument to play if I had to say not the French horn or not the ukulele? Because those are the two that you obviously enjoy playing the most. Well, wait, I'm going to throw one more there to take out. The piano. Because you have a piano at your house and you play piano a lot. So if you take those three away, because you gave piano lessons and still do.
So clarinet is a really fun instrument to play. It's so easy to play.
Why do you say that?
Well, anybody can play it. You put a easy reed on it, like a 2.5, and then you shove it all together and you just blow and you can play. There's like no talent that goes to it. But then I shouldn't say that.
Ripping on every... I'm going to get
lots of talent,
angry emails from every clarinet player in the state now.
There's so many 5th graders that can play a clarinet on the first day.
Dude, I will have to
They can
say,
play hot cross buns on the first day.
I do remember being in like 5th grade and there's like 4 or 5 rows of clarinet players in the band.
Well, you got to, because by the time you're to high school, you know, there's like 5 of them left.
Yeah.
But no, the clarinets are a lot of fun. It's a B-flat instrument, just like the trumpet, but It's got a big range. You know, you could do 3 octaves.
Oh, crazy.
Almost. And, you know, you got the low notes in there and some super high ones and everything in between. But there's only like one hard part about it is when you run out of fingers, you have no fingers on the clarinet. You have to go over the break and put everything back down, and making that hump like harmonically. I don't know if it's harmonically, but like you have to really push your air in a certain fashion to get over the break. It's the hardest thing to teach about the clarinet for little kids.
Tipping my coffee over here. So I was actually just going to ask you that. So like going from one octave to the next to the next to the next on a trumpet, the higher you go, it takes a lot of control.
All about your corners of your mouth.
Yeah, it takes a lot of control and muscles in your lip area, as well as like in your throat and mouth area. If you want to go low, you've got to like still have that amazing control, but you got to loosen it up. And it's almost like you said, you got to go with your everything that's coming out, but it has to go through your lips, so it's kind of tough.
It's basically using your mouth and your throat like you're singing, but your lips are the thing that's actually making the sound.
As for a reeded instrument, because trumpet you play through, for people that don't know, you play through like a little circle metal thing, and they call it a brass instrument, because you play into a brass instrument with this little brass, it's not brass anymore, but it's a little brass mouthpiecey thing, and you go
Yep, exactly. And then on like a clarinet or a saxophone or whatever, you still use the corners of your mouth a lot for the high notes.
Yeah.
And have that change in your throat, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more about biting down. Like if you put your finger underneath your teeth, your front teeth, and bite your finger.
Okay.
It's pretty much
So like
that.
you're almost
and then
like
you blow.
biting your
biting your lower lip and your
Okay.
finger on top of that,
Okay.
and then you just blow out.
Yeah, I have like almost no. I haven't played a reeded instrument probably since like 5th or 6th grade, other than maybe like being in high school and just like
Like
walking up to
messing around
somebody,
with somebody.
and just honking the heck out of their saxophone or
Yeah.
whatever and busting a reed and they get mad at you or whatever. You know, like
Yeah, those are expensive.
yeah, they are. They are. So it's kind of cool. I guess I didn't really know what all goes into playing a reeded instrument too much. It might be something fun to
Yeah.
get into, but it's also like one of those things, the cost of a reeded instrument.
Yeah, there's a lot of upkeep cost.
Bingo. You can't just like, got a clarinet and I can just throw it in my closet forever now. And
Yeah, it
just
is.
whenever I get it out, I can just start playing it.
Pristine condition. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Cause
not at all.
Because there's a lot of like pads and things like
Yeah,
that
and
that
you
cover
gotta-
the holes and
That's a
like
lot.
you said, the reed, you have to like warm your reed up every single time, and there's different kinds of reeds. So
Yeah.
it's no different than guitar, I'm sure, though. You got to tune the thing, and then you got
Right.
to make sure you got the right strings on it, and make sure the strings aren't too old, and then you got to choose a pick, and
Well, and it's not like brass instruments don't have the upkeep. They
True.
do.
Yeah.
You know, with like oil and greasing the valves and stuff like that. But
Yep.
it's not nearly as expensive.
No, I do recall like that was the thing where like most trumpet players could just like put the thing up to their face and start playing it.
Exactly.
And clarinet players and saxophone players, etc.,
You
would
gotta
have to
suck
like
on that
they
reed
got to
for
suck it
5
on a reed
minutes.
for 5 minutes before they could even get it. And then
Yeah.
like while they're doing that, then they have to put their whole instrument together with the trumpet. It was just like
7 pieces to
yeah,
it.
yeah. With the trumpet, it was just like just put the mouthpiece in it and
Yeah.
go honk. You
Oh,
know,
man.
so
There was a no woodwind instrument rule in my family when I was growing up.
it would let you play-
My mom would not let us play it because it was so darn expensive.
Yeah.
So we're all brass players.
Well, I mean, even if you go to flute doesn't have a reed, but
Flute has pads.
but they have all those
all
pads
those pads.
and things.
A repad is like $200.
Yeah, well, that was the thing.
Once a year.
My mom had a flute from when she was young, and she was like, "I should go get this thing repadded." And then she was like, "Oh, it's going to cost so much money." And then she had debated selling it because it was an entry-ish level flute, but it was pretty old, so it's going to maintain its value pretty well. But even then, it's still just like, you want to sell this flute for like $100, you know, like or 200 or whatever it was. It wasn't even worth a repad. I remember that.
No.
So it was like, what do we do here? You know.
Yeah.
So I think she just didn't repad it, and she's just gonna keep
Stick it on a wall somewhere. Make a decoration. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And I've heard that like some people, this is a weird one. So you get pads in there, and some of the pads will stick and stuff like that. So they would put like, I've heard that
Oh,
they
to
put,
unstick them?
well, like even if they, like say you like push something down and the pad would just go ponk and it would always stick.
Oh.
So some
Oh,
people
that's
I've heard that people would put like something under the pads. I've heard that. What was?
Well, that's if there's like moisture underneath the pads and it's like spit getting it stuck. And then you can put like a dollar bill or a paper under there and press it down, and that'll wick the moisture away.
Yeah.
Or there's little tiny springs and things
Mm-hmm.
that go along with the pads that spring them back up. So
Yeah, I
needs
remember.
adjustment either way.
I remember hearing people say they would put like cigarette papers and things like that in there to
yeah.
help wick all the
Yep.
spit off the pads and things. And I was like, that's mind blowing. I guess it's like it's almost like super simple too.
Yeah,
It makes tons of
right.
sense. So I don't know. Just I love talking about like all this kind of stuff. Where like as an adult, kind of thinking about it and being like, you know, like as far as mechanics and everything go, this only makes tons of sense. It's not
Right.
like it's super weird. But as a kid growing up, you're just like, how come the flute player's got a pack of zigzags in their flute, you know? And like, it's like that doesn't make any sense.
man.
I don't know.
Man, that's one class that I wish I would have taken in college was instrument repair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I do know a lot about repairing instruments by like trying it.
Yeah. Having your own.
Yeah,
and-
and I did work in a music repair shop for a little while, but I didn't do any major repairs or anything. But
yeah, I remember the trumpet being a brass instrument and having a kid own it. You're gonna get that thing dinged up quite a
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
And I always thought it was crazy that like, you know, once every 2 or 3 years, my mom would be like, all right, let's take this thing in and get it like.
overhauled or something.
Yeah, so you would have somebody like clean all the, you know, put all the new like what are those little felt pads on the trumpet at the top. So you put some new ones of those on, and then you'd get them all to clean out the valves, top and bottom, and all the threads for everything, and then re-grease it and re-grease the slides. Yeah, they'd clean the inside of it out, and then they'd polish the outside of it up, and then they'd put like a little reamer thing down it to get all the dents to come out. And I was like, man, this is crazy that they can do this. And it's almost like a new instrument, except for where I put the dent and it got all oxidized and stuff, but it's pretty wild. I loved that.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
I always thought that was pretty crazy.
I liked doing the chem clean on my French horn. I used to practice on that all the time.
On the inside?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, dip it in the acid stuff. And
the whole thing?
The whole thing? Yeah, I mean, you take all the slides and everything out and pretty much make it naked and then dip it in there.
That's
Let
wild.
it sit for 10 minutes, take it out, rinse it off.
10 minutes. Holy
Scrub
crap.
it.
That's crazy.
Now they have like sonic cleaning. It's not even chemical stuff.
Oh,
It's
wow.
just like with sound waves.
Yeah, because I remember with the trumpet they had like you could get like a little snake bristle thing, and you could like dip it in this cleaner stuff and send it through the trumpet, because trumpet gets tons of spit in it. So you would do that just to pretty much, it was like high-end mouthwash type stuff that you would throw through there, and you would just get all this spit and germs and stuff to come out and whatever. And you just push it through to one end or the next.
Yeah.
Instrument repair is kind of a crazy thing, and you don't really realize that you're going to have to do so much of it until you start buying instruments or having them. Then you start to realize upkeep is pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And the guitar that I use the most, I guess, would probably be that blue Les Paul. And that was the one that when I first bought it, I was like, I'm going to overhaul this thing. And then I was like, oh, wait, I need to figure out what I'm doing on this. So I did a little bit of repairs on some of my instruments here and there, but I always tried to, I don't know. I was always kind of scared I was going to break something, and then once it was a lesser expensive instrument, I was finally like, all right, let's do this. So that blue guitar got overhauled on a multitude of occasions, and I ended up putting, there's new pickups in it, there's new knob systems in it. I rewired the way the knobs were. I sent it to it's got like a older Les Paul wiring instead of the newer Les Paul wiring in it, and what else? I got some like hot shots on it that.
What are hot shots?
So my guitar has like single coils and P90s in it.
Oh, okay.
But those are like two different kind of pickups. There's three pickups. One's a single coil. They're usually in like Stratocasters and things like that, and country music, and they're like really bright sounding. And then there's humbuckers, and those are the other super common ones, played in like a lot of rock and roll, and you can get a lot of like bass and chuggy sound out of them, but they still sound pretty clear. And then there's P90, where they sound somewhere in the middle of those. Some people have called them soap bar pickups because they look kind of like a bar of soap. But so company ended up making these ones where it's a P90 next to a single coil, and it makes a humbucker. So if you put different wiring things in there, you can split the single coil and the P90 apart, so I can get all three of them out of the pickup. So I can either make it single coils or P90s or humbuckers, or I can even make it single coils and P90s, so you can combine it in any fashion you want. I remember putting like a kill switch on the guitar. You and I actually painted the guitar.
Heck yeah.
That was the blue dip on that one. That was great. It was so amazing.
Really good.
Yeah, I've been playing that at Three Finger Betty shows since, with the exception of I think like two.
That's nuts.
I've on one of them I forgot it, believe it or not. And I think on another one I was doing some more work on it, and I ended up just bringing something else because it was sitting, on the bench getting work done. But I never really thought too much about doing repair to instruments and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy, like especially on a brass instrument. I'd be scared I'd ruin the dang thing.
No, not much you can ruin on a brass instrument.
I mean, yeah, I guess
other than denting it.
Yeah, or taking the shine off the outside, maybe.
Yeah, the lacquer. But some people like the lacquerless.
Yeah, or the distressed look on them, because I remember
super distressed.
Cause I remember seeing some of them where it's like, I mean, there's obviously that like rose gold kind of colored brass,
French horn, yeah.
But there's also ones that are like I want to say
yellow,
flat. Does that sound like a flat brass?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
Because it like doesn't shine. Like I remember seeing black ones back in the day that were like that. Like you'd set a black one down, it's like, oh, this looks like it's flat black. Like there's no gloss to the outside of it all. And I always wanted one of those. I always thought it'd be so cool. Everyone's like, I want to get a silver trumpet because I'm going to be so cool. And I was just like, I'm going to get this black one. This is going to be so awesome.
Such a rebel.
Yeah, well, it's black. And the coolest part about it was the bottom caps and the inside of the bell. and the valves and the top of it and everything were gold color.
Oh,
so it was all
so it really
accented
popped.
gold,
Oh,
except
man.
that the thing was black and it was flattish black and the gold was shiny. So I always thought it looked good.
Yeah.
But,
There was somebody who in high school who bought a brand new Cowworth saxophone that was just like that. It was a black body saxophone and then
cool.
gold keys. It was the most beautiful sax I've ever
That's
seen.
saucy.
Yeah, but that finish you were talking about is kind of like a stainless steel finish, but like the goldy brass color, but not shiny.
It'd be hard to describe. Like in the room that you're in here, there's
Yeah,
like a
this
shiny
one.
piece of metal here, and I'm
Yeah.
pointing at that's like black, but I'm also pointing at a black piece of leather. It was almost
Combo
like
with
it was
that.
almost like the kind of like the black leather. It like had no gloss to it even at
Yeah.
all. You could still see light reflect off it because it's metal,
Sure.
but still it was like, oh, this is kind of crazy. I do remember that black instrument, the black trumpet. I ended up finally buying a used because I was playing on a cornet for a long time, like a 1930s cornet for the longest time, which is actually worth a decent amount of.
Yeah,
It's
those are
not
cool instruments.
it's not worth a ton of money, but it's just one of those things. Like this is super old, so it's gonna hold some value. So
Right.
it's not like it's worth a ton of money. But anyways, that's what I played on. And when I wanted to get a trumpet because it was going to be a little bit easier, and I wasn't going to have to like always take this thing in to get it like looked at and fixed because it was super old, and
Yeah.
every spring broke on one of the valves, or it was always something would break on it. So anyways, I was like, I want to get a new trumpet. I want to say your mom was actually the one that suggested me not to get the colored one because even though it looked super cool, it's kind of like the guitar thing. Like this may look really awesome, but it's a super low end model of something, and it would actually probably be a step down from where your instrument currently is. So I ended up getting everybody's favorite intro instrument. I got a Bach.
A Bach
Everybody
trumpet. Heck
gets
yeah.
the Bachs, of course.
That's the way to go.
But you know what? They're you spend a couple $100 and you got a trumpet and
That's right.
a very durable, very good sounding trumpet.
The trumpet I have, I think, is like a King or something like that, some lower brand, but it works really well. I got it from a used store. It was like less than $80.
Whoa!
You got to
that's
check out
insane.
those used stores. There's so much good instruments.
Yeah.
Like flutes and clarinets. I've bought those and resold them plenty of times.
Well, that was the thing. I've seen that every now and then.
Yeah.
I'll see one on like Facebook Marketplace and send you a
Yeah.
picture and be like, "Is this worth it or whatever?" And you're just like, "Oh yeah, it's not too bad, Or,
Yeah, I wouldn't
then
pay
it's
for it, but
sometimes it's like, well, it's
Yeah.
halfway across the state, so when you drive to go get it, it's not even close to worth it.
Right.
But still, it's
there's
if
nothing wrong with used instruments.
I discussed this exactly.
With your last podcast,
With
I was
the
listening to that.
last podcast, I had the interview was the Hannah McClymon's
Yeah.
podcast, and we were talking about buying used versus buying new, and I am in her shoes now, where I don't know anything about like orchestral instruments or etc., and I don't know how to, how much is a used this trumpet worth? No clue. I mean, without using the internet and kind of guessing, I don't know. And you, on the other hand, would know for the most part. You got your finger closer to the pulse than I do,
Yeah.
for sure. So this is where it comes down to just bouncing your ideas off somebody
That's
else that
right.
knows a little bit more than you, because not everybody's going to know every single little thing,
No.
and some of it comes down to opinion too.
That's true, yeah.
So we got about 50 minutes in here. Let's talk once again about you give lessons for
Okay.
which instruments right now.
The mainly piano and then French horn and ukulele.
All right, and you're pretty packed full of students. You said you were going to do 20, and you're now like up over 30-ish.
Yeah, I'm about at 30.
All right.
But I think some hopefully are taking the summer off so I can have some free time.
Yeah, you
Just
spend a
like-
lot of time.
Yeah.
Because your
long
lesson,
days.
yeah, your lesson job is not your day job.
No.
So you do your day job, and then you give
Yeah.
lessons like pretty much all night, right?
Yep, I'm pretty much 4:30 to 8 or 8:30, pretty much every day.
Yep.
For the Music for Life job, and then my full time on top of that.
So let me
Yeah.
ask you this: if somebody's listening and they're like, "I'm in the Iowa City area,
Yeah.
and I want to take piano lessons," you got an opening?
I can certainly make time.
All right. So
There's other piano teachers there too.
so that's Music for Life in Iowa City,
Music for Life in North Liberty.
North Liberty.
You
All
just
right.
go onto type in Music for Life, and it'll take you to their website, and you can fill out a student registration form.
Oh, cool. What other kind of instruments do they
They
have
have
people that teach there?
Tons, voice, guitar,
I
clarinet.
like
and
how
all that.
voice was the first thing you said.
A lot of people are singing. I think there's 3 voice teachers.
There's
so.
vocal lessons, so you should probably take some of that.
Gosh, okay, I'll go.
That's what you're telling me. That's what I thought you were telling
not for
me.
you. No, they do band rehearsals there, so you can find some other peers or something like that and set up a band
Oh, that's cool.
and a recording studio.
Oh, nice.
Drum set. They do pretty much everything.
Oh,
you
that's
know?
cool.
So I have my music education background, so I can teach all the auxiliary instruments, the brass and whatever.
So they got a drum set there. Let me ask you this. I've heard this in bigger cities where places will have, I guess you could call them music studios, but they've got all the instruments already there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can literally just walk in and be like, here's $50. I'm going to play this guitar for an hour.
They do have some instruments hanging around, but I don't think you would have to spend that much money. You could just come in and
Well, that
play.
was something I had heard on
Yeah.
a podcast from somebody from California.
oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
that was just an example. And his was drums was his. So
Right.
I could understand where they're just cut us some money because you're going to be beating the crap out of this stuff,
Yeah. You could totally sign up for a one lesson type of thing. But
I
they have instruments set up.
Yeah, I didn't know if you could just go in and rent one and then sit in the room and play it for half an hour. Because
Yeah.
drums are one of those things you could buy a drum set, but who's going to want to listen to you beat the crap out of your drum set in a neighborhood area?
Yeah.
So you go to this other place that's got a little studio set up, and you're just like, hey, I'll pay you some money to play in here.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. They have two drum sets set up in the same room so that the teacher can play along with the
cool.
student. So
That's awesome. You get some of that Allman Brothers feel in
Heck
there with the
yeah.
double drums.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's Music for Life, North Liberty, Iowa. It's near Iowa City for people that don't know where North Liberty is. It's so near Iowa City that they're pretty much
Yeah,
connected.
they're basically the same town.
Yeah, it's like Iowa City, Coralville now.
Mm-hmm.
It's Coralville, North Liberty are kind of connected like that pretty much, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that would be the best place to contact
Mm-hmm.
you if you wanted to set up a lesson, I guess, with
Any of the teachers?
with
not
any
just
of the
me.
not
there's
just
tons.
well, that's the thing. Just because Sarah's spending her whole day doing this and she's getting kind of full on lessons doesn't mean there's not other people there that are well qualified to be teaching this stuff. So
Yeah, the owner. Oh my goodness, he is so talented. He's a guy from Poland, and he can play everything.
is that the guy that you had mentioned to me who had 70 lessons or something? It was something like that.
He teaches at least 70 lessons a week.
It's like insanity.
Yeah.
That's
He plays piano better than I could ever dream, and guitar and all of it.
that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
so crazy. I guess if that's his only job and he runs the
it's
place,
not.
it's not.
No, he does house remodeling too.
I was gonna say the dude's probably a
he's-
carpenter, an
yeah.
electrician, and a plumber.
He's so talented.
That's crazy. I wish.
Yeah.
I can only hope that in my adult life that I just never stop learning and end
I
up
know.
finally getting to that stage
Yeah.
of being able to do that kind of stuff.
Just the jack of all trades.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you don't have to be the best at every single thing you do, but if I've mentioned it so many times in the podcast, as long as you're just out there doing the thing, that's most of the battle, really.
Exactly. Just doing it.
Yeah, just doing it. So if you want to just do it and play some any instrument, pretty much, you can hit up Sarah or any of the other people and get a lesson scheduled. It doesn't matter your age, I'm sure.
No, not at all.
That's probably one of my favorite things. Was one of my best students I've had over the last couple of years has been an elderly lady
Mm-hmm.
that learned to do some country western picking, and
That's pretty great.
I was mind blown. It was to the point where she was almost better than me. And
wow.
if she comes back and wants to do more lessons, I may or may not have to send her somewhere else because
Because she's better.
she's better than me
Yeah.
at what she wants to do, and I don't think without playing along, I don't think I could play along with her and teach her any better because there are definitely teachers that are good enough where they can't do what you're doing, but they can coach you and teach you into doing it better, and I don't feel very comfortable doing that as of yet. So
Yeah.
I've already made plans for a couple of my students to head other directions, and some of them, ironically, when I suggest the idea, just don't go to any lessons anymore, and they think they're good enough. And one of them,
And they stop practicing.
yeah,
or
one of
something?
them just quit altogether. He was just like, "Oh, I guess I'm pretty good at this, so I don't need to practice anymore."
Oh, jeez.
and I hit them up every
That's
now and then
unfortunate.
and get a hold of their mom. I'm like, "Hey, does the kid play anymore?" It's like, just sits in the closet. It's so sad. So
But it'll come back to them in a couple of years, and they'll be like, "Why did I ever put this down?"
exactly, it'll be just like me, my
Exactly.
situation.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll put your I'll put a link to wherever they can
Sure.
book a lesson with you down below as long as you send it to me. Is there any other links that you think I should share for your...
Well, I'm not in any current bands or
No.
anything like that. I'm just a teacher. So,
Yep.
no, I don't have any links.
All right. So
Okay.
we'll share the links to where we can get interviews or get lessons with you if somebody wants to do a lesson. And maybe I'll put some of your, like, we didn't even talk about your stained glass art that you do.
Yeah.
Let's mention that real
Okay.
quick before the end. So you do stained glass art, and that
Oh,
was something you just kind of started as a hobby, but you do have
Yeah.
you have taken a few commissions on some of those.
I've
so
done a few commissions, yeah, like birthday gifts and retirement gifts or whatever. But I like working with glass. It's very colorful and easy, meditative.
do you still have your Facebook and Instagram pages and stuff?
I do. I haven't made anything in a while. I just don't have the time.
Yeah, obviously
But,
with all the lessons.
Yeah, I got those. I can send you the links.
All right, let's mention it on here. What's the name of that?
SunCatcherDesign.
All right, so it's SunCatcherDesign, and I will snag a link to that stuff and
Yeah.
share it down below if you want to see some pretty cool stained glass art. I was actually looking at the one over here.
Oh, yeah, that one.
It's kind of pixelated, and it's got some curves around it. It almost looks like an eyeball. It's kind
Kind of
of
looks like an eyeball. Yeah,
kind of cool looking. But I
long
remember,
panel.
you did a ship.
A ship? Yeah, it's just sitting over
it's
there.
right over there. Yeah,
I
the
took it
ship was
down.
like, this is super cool. Did
Yeah.
you do like a peacock maybe
I
too?
did a peacock.
The
It was
peacock
beautiful.
I remember seeing was a
Some
really cool looking one.
Yeah.
Oh, the butterfly. Yes,
heart
yes,
thing.
yes, yes.
Some abstract.
Yeah, so there's some cool stuff on there. I'll make sure to share the
Yeah.
links to that stuff. And
Okay.
if anybody's got any art festivals or anything coming up, want to have a
Right.
stained glass artist show up with some of their goodies. And
If you need a stained glass business card holder.
yeah, that was another one you did. You did
Something like
business
that.
card holders. I mean, you kind of just
I don't
do a
know.
little bit of one of everything. You know, you were
yeah,
kind
and
of...
then you see what people like and make more of that.
Yeah, because it doesn't always just have to be something that hangs in a window.
No.
Like you've made little wind blowy whirly gigs, things
Yeah,
that you can
little
hang up
3D.
outside and they spin in the wind and stuff like that and
Yeah.
look cool. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we'll share a link to that. You can check out the Instagram page and look at some of the pictures of some of the art that she's made in that. Because yeah, I guess you're not just a musician; you're also an
No.
artist. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. So
Well, thank you.
absolutely, we'll share links to all your goodies down below, and make sure you check out the stained glass art. And if you're in Eastern Iowa and you want a lesson, hit Sarah up or the Music for Life people, any of them in
for
general.
Life. Or if you want to do some recording, there's a recording studio in the basement of Music for Life. so
Nice. Do they have an engineer there that will help you record stuff?
They have one that you can hire in. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Pretty
Good
cheap.
deal. That's good. All right. Well, thanks for joining me for the podcast.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that's another episode in the bank, or in the can, as they say in the radio world, or some people say that. I don't know. Forgive me for trying to act cool. This episode was awesome. Had a great time sitting down with Sarah, talking with her about all the stuff that she grew up playing music and learning more about her family and giving lessons and where you can find her if you want to get, take some lessons. I'll try and post some links down below to Music for Life. I will definitely post links to her SunCatcherDesign stuff down below. We very, very briefly glossed over it, but that is not something to be glossed over. You should check out her stained glass art. It is insane. It's just another one of those things where she was just like, I wonder if I can do this, and then she just went and bought the stuff and learned how to do it. Because that's kind of the person that she is. She just figures out how to do things and does them, and she's good at it, and that, I don't know if I want to say it makes me jealous, but it kind of gives me the drive to go out and do those things myself. So it's pretty awesome to have people like that around you that are just super good at everything, and you kind of just, you want to be just like them kind of, but do it your own way. So you kind of go out and do your own thing. And I mean, that's one of the reasons I started a podcast. It's like, why can't I do this? I mean, I'm pretty sure that I should be able to do this. It's not like it's too difficult. And I just went out and did it, and she's been one of my biggest supporters. She's listened to every episode and sends me messages and says, oh, this episode was great. Oh, I learned so much about this person I never knew before. So, hats off to her for supporting the podcast for as long as she had. And it's great to finally get her in here to do an interview. I highly recommend, if you want to do lessons with her, that you hit up Music for Life in Iowa City. Actually, it's in the North Liberty area. But I do know that her schedule is very full. So if you're thinking about that, you might want to hop on it. Otherwise, there's tons of other people here that can give lessons if she's busy. Like you said, there's a recording studio there. I don't know. This gal just kind of does it all, so it's kind of cool. Like I said, I'll drop a bunch of her links down below so you guys can check out her stained glass art and all the other cool stuff that she does, because it's pretty wild. All right. So now I would like to say thank you to my sponsor, Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is my favorite coffee ever. If you missed it in the intro because you fast forwarded, shame on you. Shame on you. I'll tell you what. You know why shame on you? Because you missed the fact that I told you if you enter the promo code UKULELE, the promo code UKULELE saves you 20%. That pretty much deletes all of the shipping. And then some. So go to couchtowncoffee.com. Find a roast you would like, and hit them up. Say, hey, I'd like to have some coffee shipped to my house, roasted fresh exactly the way I want it, and I'd like to enter the promo code UKULELE so I can save 20% because I listen to the Audible Farm podcast. That's my way of saying thank you. That's Couchtown Coffee's way of saying thank you. Mostly, I'll tell you what, Couchtown Coffee has blown me away with how professional they've been through all of this. We kind of are just feeling it out week by week, doing what we're doing, and this is week 3, and they've blown me away, entering promo codes and saving money from a really local Iowa company. It's amazing. So hats off to Couchtown Coffee, our sponsor. Enter that code word UKULELE. Do not forget to enter that code word UKULELE. Make sure you go to www.audiblefarm.com. You can find all the Audible Farm stuff, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can find out places you can listen and everything. There's tons of stuff there. There's an email form there you can fill out and send us an email if you want to do an interview. I've been pretty busy in the late summer, but I'll tell you what, I've still found time to do plenty of interviews. I'm debating on doing some out-of-state interviews, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to pull that off. I might send them out as bonus episodes in the middle of the week just to give you guys something else to chomp on during the week. So maybe be looking for those. They might be coming out soon. I've got a handful of people that expressed interest in wanting to jump on the podcast and at least just be able to talk to me about what they've got going on, and I'm pretty interested. So, there's hardworking musicians out there. There's people that make electronic music. I don't know anything about that. I would love to learn about that. So that's one big thing I thought would be pretty cool. Other than that, there's been a guy that's in like 4 or 5 bands that's hit me up. It's going to be a great time. So I just stick around. Maybe you'll hear a bonus episode in the week. Maybe not. If there is, I'll tell you what. I'll probably enter that promo code in there in the bonus episode too, so people don't miss it. The promo code for Couchtown Coffee is good for 1 week only, so make sure you get that promo code. I am going to take off. Thanks again to Sarah. Thanks again to all the listeners. Thanks again to Couchtown Coffee. Thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate everything you're doing, listening to the podcast. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am, because I'm having a blast doing the podcast. So hats off. I'll see you guys all next week. Peace.